No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Evening, Winnipeg. Good evening, Manitoba. For all those joining us live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. In addition to our social media platforms, we say good evening, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show, along with Dave Manouk. If you'll forgive me for a second, I feel a bit of a song coming on. The Stars are toast, the Jets are champs, deep in the heart of Texas.
Wow. Drew, well done.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out a way to incorporate that into the post-game show. What a game. What a performance. Not yet mathematically the Jets are champions, but we know what tonight's victory meant. 6 points up, 3 games to go. It's for all intents and purposes, the Central Division and the Western Conference is there for the Jets to have rightfully earned. And they went into Dallas, a game that everyone knew the stakes of coming in, and they absolutely laid a whooping on the Dallas Stars, Dave, in as impressive a fashion as we've seen since Monday's game against St. Louis, since the game against Washington, and since the last time the Jets faced off against the Dallas Stars back in Winnipeg.
It's over, to quote Rocky, and there's no question the Jets are going to have the Central. I'm not going to make a guarantee, but I mean, at this point, we know it's not mathematical, as you just said, Drew, but it's essentially the Jets only need the 1 point in the remaining 3 games. And
yes,
this was a clinical game by the Winnipeg Jets, another one of these instances where, folks were doubting them. And that I've said for a while now that this team does best when people don't have faith in them. Not obviously Jets fans, but people from outside this market. So they tend to thrive. They tend not, and they, as we've discussed, they can say they don't listen to the noise. They listen. They know where people have them, and they know what they've got in this team. And you defeat a St. Louis Blues team that had won 12 straight, and they played a phenomenal game here in Winnipeg on Monday night.
Yeah.
And the big question mark was going to be, would they be able to send Dallas fans home early as we're watching them on the replay of the game? And sure enough, that's just what they do. Connor Hellebuck gets his 45th win of the season, setting a franchise record, a personal best record, of course, and the franchise record, which, of course, he previously had at 44. It's also his 45th shutout. Mark Scheifele gets his career high in points with 85, and, of course, Kyle Connor sets his career high with 90. I don't know what just happened there. The mic kind of died on me, I guess, but
I think you're back. You're good. Keep going.
Okay, but anyways, that Kyle Connor got to the 94-point mark. So it's just, to me, it's just an incredible display, because this was going to be the test. Were the Jets going to be able to handle the Dallas Stars and the way the Dallas Stars play? Well, the question isn't whether the Jets can handle it, it's whether the Stars can handle the Jets, and we know the answer is no.
Certainly. I mean, this was it's the third period that stands out to me the most.
I agree.
I mean, so, the game, the Jets certainly have the lead going into the final 40 minutes, so you're pleased where the game is at that point in time. But to go and play the third period, you're up 2-0. You should be facing off against a desperate Dallas team.
Right.
A team, that knows firsthand that comebacks are not impossible in the NHL, given their failure on Tuesday night against the Vancouver Canucks.
Maybe you should share with our audience what tweet you wanted to send it with 1 minute to go when we thought the score was going to be 3-0.
Right, but when it was 3-0, I was going to say, something along the line, basically making reference to Dallas's collapse on Tuesday night against Vancouver, an epic collapse in case people aren't aware of that. Dallas was up 5-2 against Vancouver on Tuesday night. There was less than a minute to go in the third period. They gave up 3 goals in the final 54 seconds of the game on Tuesday night. 53, pardon me, and then eventually lost in overtime. So it was going to reference that. Of course, the Jets had a 4-0 lead at that point in time, so I didn't bother with the tweet. But it's what I'm talking about, though, the third period. So you should be facing a desperate Dallas team.
Yes.
You have a 2-goal lead. Dallas knows what the stakes are. They know what matters at this point in the game.
Although, Drew, worth noting, the Jets are 39. Timmy, what was the stats? 39-0-1 when they are leading after 2 periods. So the Dallas Stars know they're in in a tough.
It's an uphill climb. But the Jets go out there and they just absolutely dominate that third period. Shots were 17-7 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets for that third period. I mean, the possession numbers, 64%. The Jets had possession in the third period. High danger chances in the third period, 6-1 in favor of the Winnipeg Jets. That to me is as impressive as the entire performance was by the Winnipeg Jets tonight. And it was. But there were times where Dallas was, they were, outplaying the Jets in a small amount based on the underlying numbers. But then the Jets go out there in the third period and they just lay an absolute hammer down. A demoralizing performance if you're a fan of the Dallas Stars, if you're a member of the Dallas Stars, saying, we couldn't do anything against that Winnipeg team, and they went out there and they just had an absolutely champion pedigree performance in the third period of tonight's contest.
At what point in the game did you notice Mikko Rantanen for the first time? Because for me, I think it was in the third period. I mean, this is a guy that you brought in, you gave up some very good assets, and yet he wasn't noticeable. And
right.
I think it's a credit to the Winnipeg Jets. They continue to play their style. And folks have had question marks about them throughout the course of the year. Are they going to be good enough? Are they frauds? Are they this? Are they that? But I think they're continuously showing to us, Drew, who they are. The best team in the NHL. And it's hard to argue with that. I mean, it really is. Look what they've done. Dallas, I mean, I detailed it on illegalcurve.com in my pregame report. But the Dallas Stars had a 10-point deficit the last time these two teams played in Winnipeg in mid-March.
Right.
But Dallas had those 2 games in hand. So you've played now each other however many times since that game.
Right.
The Jets have a 6-point lead. There's no more games in hand. It's
a team that just took care of business, the Jets are then.
Absolutely.
That's just what it is.
And look, it's not to be understated, the fact that Dallas collapsed. I mean, you can't minimize this. You had a lead against Sidney Crosby and the Penguins on Saturday. Yeah. You lost. You were in Minnesota. You fought back. You were down 2-1. You got to overtime, and you win that game in overtime. Or no, sorry, you lose the game in overtime. And then you play home to the Vancouver Canucks. And as you detailed already, Drew, you have a lead with 1 minute to go. And for the first time in NHL history, you lose that game in overtime. So, again, it's speaking to this idea that this Jets team is something special. And I know you've been talking about that and talking about how people need to enjoy what we've seen, because 54 times now, I believe, the Jets have won a hockey game. And we know that Greg is not happy when the Jets lose. So he's going to be happy because he doesn't have to watch the show and listen to us tomorrow. He can listen. Well, he's listening to us in real time right now.
He's right here. He's over here, over our shoulder.
But the point is that he's getting to enjoy the game. And so, like we've been talking about, you're starting to wonder. Like, the first period was an even period, even though I know the Jets had the lead.
The first period was very much, I thought,
like a chess match.
Yeah. There was, both teams very much to the outside. They were focused on their details in that first period, where neither side was really willing to give an inch.
Yeah.
But you could tell the physicality and the intensity and the playoff style atmosphere was prevalent for that first period of tonight's game.
Absolutely. And the one thing that we've been talking about with pretty much everybody here, and a big thanks to everyone who showed up here at Boston Pizza on Taylor. I mean, it was a full house.
Yeah.
It was an incredible crowd throughout the course of the evening. So thanks to the folks at Boston Pizza, of course, for hosting us, and for everybody for showing up and being part of this night. But one of the conversations we had with one of the tables beside us was just how good this fourth line has been. And, Morgan Barron, we're going to talk about him obviously in the game recap because he scores a beautiful goal, but they were noticeable, and not for a bad reason. You weren't sitting there going, well, again, oftentimes you say, if you don't notice your third pairing defenseman, you don't notice the fourth line, that's probably a good thing. But in this instance, it was all for good reasons. Again, it was a very impressive performance, and another feather in the cap for the Winnipeg Jets. Scott Arniel they talked about it in yesterday. We talked to the players, and they said one of the things that Adam Lowry was asked about, he said, listen, like, Scott Arniel has us ready to go. We were ready for our opponents. And yes, have the Jets lost games? They have. Not many. But they have. And so it's not unexpected that you're going to lose some, but it has been a very impressive season. And this is just another impressive performance in a whole host of impressive performances that we've seen this year.
Like I said, I mean, this is the kind of game that leaves a team thinking they can win any game they face. That there's no opponent that they cannot play against. There's no challenge that they cannot handle. That's what tonight's performance by the Winnipeg Jets, to me, is all about. This team, obviously, everyone knew how good they are. Top team in the NHL. Yep. But you watch this game tonight, and you watch how they handled Dallas, and you're saying, where are the flaws? You know, where are the holes in this lineup? Where are the holes in this team? Logan Stanley, Luke Schenn, right? Third pair for them tonight. Perfectly serviceable. Mm-hmm. Perfectly solid. You know, not flashy, but you saw them for all the right reasons. Luke Schenn laying out Mason Marchment with that massive hit in the third period.
Along the boards.
You know, coming back, making that play against Oscar Back that ultimately resulted in the 3-0 goal, the Kyle Connor's first goal of the game. Just small details up and down the lineup from every player on the roster. And you just say, you know, if you're an opponent, what are you focusing against on this Winnipeg Jets when they're playing like this? Now, obviously, you have to play like this in order for this statement to be a true one.
Right.
You know, there's Captain Obvious there for you. But right now, when they're at their peak, it's so difficult for an opponent to say, this is our area, this is our opportunity, this is where we can expose them. You know, and then if you think you find that area, oh, look who's in the net, the human shutout himself, Connor Hellebuyck, getting his 8th of the season and his 6th against Central Division opponents this year.
Yeah, and it's funny, Drew, because you go through this hockey game, and I'm thinking about the performances across the board. And remember, you get Nikolai Ehlers back, he's missed a few games. You get Neil Pionk back, he's obviously missed some time since they decided to get him to heal up. So it's just a testament to the fact that they continue to kind of be able to put guys into the lineup, and you don't miss a beat, because you wondered, would the Jets be able to play sort of that same style of game with Nikolai Ehlers in? And that's not a shot at Nikolai Ehlers, but, you know, they played a little bit more of a harder game, I'd say, against the Blues than, and that's not, although I shouldn't say that, I don't want Nikolai Ehlers to treat me like Steele.
Like Sam Steele.
And try and
drop the gloves
and pummel
with you.
me or anything.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is that it's one of those games that they didn't change their style. They kept things going exactly the way you'd anticipate that they would.
Right.
So for me, it's it's funny because Scott O'Neill's bristled at the concept of statements and is this a statement game and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is that, you know, playing the Winnipeg Jets is a statement. We heard what, you know, the
Jets don't have any more statements to make in the regular season.
No, and we've been talking about it for a while, but the fact of the matter is you couldn't be ready for the playoffs if you didn't play the right way in the regular season. And I thought, here's another example. And look, we had we had a conversation when the Jets were up 4-0, and on the power play, could they make it 5-0? Is this similar to what we saw against the Colorado Avalanche?
You're talking about the 7-0 game at the end of the year last year against Colorado.
And for me, these are completely separate teams. They're not. That vibe is not there. I didn't feel that same way.
Right.
The way they were handling the Dallas Stars as the way they were handling the Colorado Avalanche. And the truth is, even if you want to say it was similar, to me, at the end of the day, what doesn't matter is the fact that this Jets team knows what happened to them last year. So they're not going to make that same error. They're not
muscle memories.
Yeah, they're not going to be not ready to go in the playoffs. This is a completely different team. Again, I'm around the team not when they're on the road, obviously, but when they're here. I see it. It's not the same team as we saw last year. So, again, as I say, I would say, like, this was a very impressive performance. It was an impressive performance because so many people in this room were buzzing. I mean, people were buzzing. They were excited about the...
Well, I'll tell you how excited they are. Here's Frederick Hook. He just gave us $100. So that's very generous. It's totally unnecessary. We appreciate it wholeheartedly. But thank you, Frederick, for that. I mean, you can see the excitement.
And Frederick said that, just for the people who are listening on the podcast, historic season in many ways. And he's absolutely right. What, right? Like, the Jets set the wins record. Players individually are setting records. So it's all across the board. And, you know, there was some conversation, I think it was with Kevin Sawyer on TSN. They said to him, you know, I think it was Gino Reda asked him, you know, is there any chance that Connor Hellebuyck, they keep him in for the final 3 games, trying to get him to tie the wins record? Now, first of all, nobody's going to keep him in to tie it. They might keep him in because they want him to win it, but nobody's going to keep them in to tie it. But the fact of the matter is they're not going to take a risk because ultimately, at the end of the day, individual awards are nice. The William Jennings is going to be a nice addition to Connor Hellebuck's trophy room. But at the end of the day, you know, I know, everybody in this room knows, and everybody watching this show knows that the Jets want one thing. It's the Stanley Cup, and that's what they're focused on, and so they're going to do whatever they can as a team collectively. And if that means resting the entire team and we watch the Manitoba Moose in games 81 and 82, so be it. And we'll see what happens when they play Chicago.
Well, that's the privilege, that's the reward you get for performing like you do, is that you get, you know, the week off. You get, and we talked about this last Saturday on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show, that the goal, or one of the great privileges for the Winnipeg Jets, might be the opportunity that you give most of your players 6-7 days off from game action. Not off the ice, you know, they're still obviously going to be skating and everything else along those lines, but that, you know, you don't have to play hard in games 81 and 82. So that, you know, Saturday when they play Chicago, and you know, who knows what's going to happen in that one game on Saturday. Anything can happen, as we've seen over the years. It's not to say that there's a guarantee that that the Jets are, no doubt about it, going to be victors on Saturday. But the opportunity is right there that you almost get a full week of rest and, you know, just non-game action in the lead up to the playoffs starting, whether they start next Saturday, whether they start next Sunday at home. And that itself is part of the reward that you get, so that you're not, you know, having to get in there, or you're not fighting for playoff position on Wednesday and Thursday, the last games of the season, that you can now sort of pick your battles and pick and choose how you want to treat your team moving forward for the remainder of this year.
Absolutely, and also to reward your players. I mean, reward guys who have been down on the farm and haven't played a ton of NHL games. Get Elias Salamonson, the 2022 second rounder, his first game in the NHL.
Right.
So people were asking me what's going to happen. I said, look, if the Jets are still in tight, they're not going to make decisions other than to do what's best for the team. If it means playing everybody to the end, that's what they're going to do. Now, you're right, Drew. Everybody's dealing with bumps and bruises, and everybody would like a couple of days off between playoffs and the regular season ending and the playoffs starting to give those guys some time to kind of heal up. So I think it would absolutely be something. But that just means they have to keep focused, and they have to worry about Chicago. And they'll pat themselves on the back, but they can't get too excited. You know, like they have to just... And one thing again, and I'm not here to wave pom-poms of Winnipeg Jets pom-poms or anything, but one thing this Jets team has done historically, and by historically I mean throughout the course of this season, is they're happy about the win. They'll talk about the win tonight, and then they're going to move on to tomorrow. And they're practicing in Chicago, and they'll focus on the Chicago Blackhawks. And they've respected their opponents. I know that they're not winning every game because no team wins every game. But at the end of the day, I don't want to get too hyperbolic, but this was as impressive a win as you're going to see. It's right up there with the Washington wins. Yep. It's right up there with the previous, that previous Dallas win was more significant in my mind because it really set the tone. Because, you know, we're going to see either, a 10-point gap or a lot closer.
Right.
And with Dallas having 2 games in hand. Now they don't, of course, and again, the games in hand are significant because we said this on, I don't remember if we said on the Saturday show, Drew, or on the other show. It doesn't matter what Dallas does. You have the points advantage. If you keep winning your games, who cares what they do? Now, Dallas, coincidentally, has lost 4 games in a row, worth noting, and the Jets have not. So there you go. But like you said, the one thing that stood out to me, I shouldn't say that. Lots stood out to me. I'm a little overwhelmed right now. But I will say the one thing that really stood out, and you mentioned it, but I want to reiterate the point, was how good they were in the third period. Because that was similar to what I saw when I was watching that Blues game, was they were absolutely relentless.
Yeah.
And Dallas just didn't look like they had the same capacity.
Dallas looked like a team in the third period that they saw how the Jets were playing, and they couldn't elevate their game above the level that the Jets had set. That's what, and that to me is, if you're an opponent of the Winnipeg Jets, that's got to be demoralizing.
Yeah.
Dallas is
at home too.
At home, you're down 2 goals. It's not that the Jets had dominated the first 40 minutes. I would argue that the first 40 minutes was fairly even. Even Dallas had a bit of an edge, like a marginal edge in some of the analytics, and maybe they had 1 extra high danger chance than the Jets did. Pretty even first 40 minutes. The Jets have the 2-0 lead, though. and the Jets elevated their game, and Dallas couldn't respond to it. Whether they couldn't find a way to elevate their game, or what the Jets were doing was just far exceeding what Dallas could offer.
Yeah.
Any way you cut it, no matter what definition you want to use for it, it's got to say to the Winnipeg Jets in their dressing room, when we play like this, when we play at our peak, it doesn't matter who the opponent is.
Yeah.
It's because they've done it against Washington. They did it against St. Louis.
Colorado.
They did it against Colorado. They swept the season series against Colorado. We haven't played the Avs. The Jets haven't played the Avs in, I think, since, I guess, early January.
It's been a while, yeah.
It was New Year's Eve. They played New Year's Eve in Dallas no, I must be wrong. The Jets lost.
They lost the New Year's Eve game,
Right.
but it was a good game, but they lost.
Right.
That was the back-to-back, right? Didn't they play Edmonton and then
Maybe.
Colorado?
So they didn't sweep the season series against Colorado, but I think they won the season series against Colorado. I misspoke. Pardon me on that front. But whatever it is, the Jets say, look, when we're at our peak, when we play like we played, and by the way, this is not a fully healthy lineup. Gabe Velarde is still out of the lineup.
Yeah, although I mean, I saw him at the rink. He was strength training, so I mean, it's good. It's a good sign that he's kind of working his way back. So that's I don't have any ideas other than what I saw, but I mean, it's a good sign that you're seeing him working back towards something.
If it's game one, we don't know. If it's game two, we don't know. We're not going to speculate. It'll be whatever it is for Gabe Velarde at this point. But it doesn't matter who's in this lineup for the Winnipeg Jets. Everybody goes out there. They play the exact right kind of game. They elevate their game accordingly, and they do their job. And I've said this before on the post-game show. Bill Belichick, when he was the head coach of the New England Patriots, his mantra was do your job. Don't worry, Dave Minuk, about what Drew Mandel has to do.
I know
you don't.
Ever.
That's good advice. But Dave Minuk, do what Dave Minuk needs to do to make our team better.
Cover the Moose, cover the Jets.
There you go. Drew Mandel, do what you need to do to make the team better. And that's what the Winnipeg Jets are doing. Every single member is focused on themselves and how to elevate their game to do what's necessary to make this team a winning team. And you saw that tonight with their performance.
Shout out to Max. He's had a good comment. He's sitting behind us at Boston. Or
there's a table of Chapelazes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Chapelazes, whatever the...
pronounce it properly, but we a little banter. He says the boys are going to be eating a lot of pizza tonight with all these super chats. So he's not wrong, although we've already eaten our pizza tonight, Max.
Yeah.
But
and there was great pizza, of course, here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. They treat us so well. So you said it already. I want to reiterate it. What a great showing by the Winnipeg Jets, and what a great showing here at Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
So many fans of Illegal Curve out here tonight, came out for this watch party. We're going to do it again come playoff time, so the details still to be determined. We don't know the schedule yet, but we're going to be here. We're going to be at City Place for the pregame shows before the home games. There's going to be so much Illegal Curve coming your way, you won't know what to do with yourself. We're going to have to say goodbye to our significant others because however long this Jets playoff run goes for, we might be a little bit busy for a while.
Yeah, but I mean, as you said, the fact of the matter is they're not going to get too far ahead of themselves. They've learned that lesson. That's one of the lessons they have to learn.
Sure.
You can't ignore anybody. You can't take your foot off the gas because if you take Chicago lightly,
right?
First of all, it can lead to injury, and second of all, you just don't want to let those bad habits creep in with 3 games remaining. And Scott Arniel has kept this team very focused. He doesn't, it's interesting because, like I said, we're around him a lot, and you hear the way he talks, and he just says, "Listen, I know it's a boring answer, but if I had $1 for every time he said that, I'd have more money than I have in the super chat, which is not too bad right now." But to me, it's just a function of a coaching staff that is zeroed in, and again, using guys appropriately. Like Morgan Barron, how good has he looked as the 4th line center?
It's changed. I don't want to be too hyperbolic, but it seems like it honestly can change the trajectory of his career. When he was on the wing, he was fine, but there were too many games where you didn't notice him. Too many games where his presence wasn't as remarkable as it has been since he's been a center.
Yeah.
Now you look at him and you're saying this guy is driving that 4th line as a center. The goal he scored tonight, and we'll get to it when we get into the 2 games in a row. Yeah. And we'll get into his goal in the Play Now game recap here coming up in a couple minutes. But this is the guy who now looks like he's a freed player. that he's found his game at this NHL level and that he no longer is, he's found his niche, he knows how to fill it, and he's moving forward with a different purpose for his career at this point in time. That's what, to me, Morgan Barron looks like as right now the Winnipeg Jets' fourth-line center. And, oh, by the way, a threat against every other team that has to play up against him now.
Well, exactly. And that's why you have to have patience. And I know it's hard, and I know that everybody wants, we live in an instant gratification society, and it's hard to have faith in development sometimes. But this is what you get, this is what you get. And this is just the reality. I mean, we're seeing it on the farm right now. Brad Lambert, center last year, center for part of this year, now he's on the wing. And we'll talk about the Moose for a bit after, but the fact of the matter is, he may not come to the NHL and be a center right away, but then he may end up being a center. We don't know, right? And that's, you don't want to just say a guy has to be this and automatically do that. And for me, Drew, what this does is it gives the Jets, I mean, we've seen, and again, the benefit of being at the practice, you get to see what these guys work on after they're done drills and the scrimmage. But the fact of the matter, if they have scrimmage, but like you get to see Morgan Barron working on his face-off and working on his craft in that regard and getting better, and that's an area of improvement. So yeah, there's no question about it. I don't see him leaving the fourth line center role. Why would you? You're having nothing but success.
Yeah, that's just it.
Wait, does Doug think that's a good point? Doug, is that a good point?
Doug's not listening
Doug,
right now. He's distracted. It's okay. You're distracting Doug from what he's doing, and
I was trying to make Doug part of the show, but the problem is he must be on tape delay or something. He doesn't realize he's part of it.
That's what's going on here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue. The Illegal Curve watch party, the Illegal Curve live on location post-game show. Just an absolute great time this evening as the Winnipeg Jets take care of business against the Dallas Stars by a 4-0 margin. An absolute dominant performance. Let's get into it. There's four goals.
You want to start now? This is the longest I think we've ever. No, maybe not actually.
We've probably had longer preambles, but it's been definitely a
longer.
long one. I'll tell you what. I'm going to press the button in a second that's going to play the Play Now game recap bumper. But in the meantime, over 550 of you watching live on the YouTube channel, in addition to everybody here at Boston Pizza. What you guys all need to do, guys and gals, is you need to smash the like button, you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and of course you need to turn your notifications on so that you get alerted each and every time we go live here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, and again coming up Saturday morning on the Illegal Curve YouTube, on the Illegal Curve hockey show at 9 a.m. So that's your job while I press the Play Now game recap bumper.
The Play Now game recap.
I appreciate that.
Play Now game recap brought to you by our friends.
You on Saturday.
Okay.
And just so in case anybody wonders, Greg is here. Well, Greg has a jersey signed by everyone, including Drew Mandel
and Dave Manu.
And me, but
yeah, Greg's got a jersey. It's covered in signatures from Jets players, and he decided to devalue that jersey by asking us for our autograph.
I forgot. There was so much stuff going on throughout the course of the day that I took a picture of Drew signing it. And I was like, this is for sure the first and only time Drew ever signed it. I think. Have you ever signed anything before?
Like an autograph?
Yeah.
No, I mean, people usually run away from me in fear. They don't want me to sign anything. Why would anybody ever want me to sign anything?
I got a picture of that for Ezzy, but I forgot to send it to him because it's been so busy.
Yeah. In any event, great night, like Dave was saying here at the Illegal Curve watch party.
Thanks, Dave, by the way. He's giving us a thanks.
Another one of the Chapelazas who have a whole table to themselves over there in the corner. It's really been a fun night. It's just getting started here as we get into the Play Now game
by the way,
recap.
I'm going to give Dieter Meister a shout out because I like this one. He said Dieter Meister wants everyone to smash the Craig button. That's a good one.
I'm sure Craig is going to be here come playoff time. So you'll be seeing a lot of Craig, I'm sure, hopefully with us here on the post-game show and on the Saturday morning show and on the pre-game show. Well, we know how much everybody loves Craig Button, and Craig is so great with us. So I'm sure we'll be incorporating him in as much as we possibly can over the course of the next couple weeks and months and everything else, as long as this run goes. As I was mentioning, the Play Now game recap is, of course, brought to you by our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor of all of our Illegal Curve programming. Big thanks to Play Now for their continued support. We remind you to learn to bet with Play Now, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Sign up and get up to $250 in bonus bets. Conditions apply, 18+. Enjoy responsibly. Winnipeg Jets opened the scoring in tonight's game. We mentioned earlier, Dave, that the first period was very tight checking, very sort of, I would argue, a little bit cautious from both sides. A lot of perimeter play as both sides made a point of not letting people get to the front of the net. The Jets do get to the front of the net, though, and it's Nino Niederreiter going hard at Jake Ottinger. He gets his stick on the shot from Josh Morrissey, assist to Adam Lowry as well, and this comes with a minute and 23 seconds to go in the first period, giving the Winnipeg Jets the all-important 1-0 lead over the Dallas Stars. And again, this is where goals are scored come playoff time. Between the hash marks, in the blue paint, and Nino Niederreiter is a guy who goes north-south, and he went directly right at Jake Ottinger and just got enough of that tip, real nifty tip on the Morrissey shot. Yeah. Morrissey was the trailer in the play as Lowry saw him coming downhill from the blue line, and he teed him up, and Morrissey with a nice shot, and Niederreiter with the tip.
The winner of the hoodies are heading home. See you guys later. Have a good night.
Thanks for coming.
And you know what? Look, it's so critical in this game. Like hockey, as everyone who's played it knows, it's a physical game, obviously, but it also could be a mental game. Sure. And for the Jets, we've been talking about it. Even though they were getting wins, they were allowing the first goal. They weren't ready right from puck drop. Well, we haven't seen that, right? In the St. Louis game, they were ready to go. In the game tonight, they were ready to go. And I agree with you, Drew. It was two teams feeling each other out. Yeah. Neither team really wanted to make a mistake in that first period. And, just one of the things that I feel like we've talked about of late, more often than not, has been the fact that for you to score goals, they can't be from the perimeter. They can't be from 40, 50 feet away. You need to be in front, and you need to be going to the front of the net. And that's just what happens here. And what a surprise, it comes from a good defensive play in your neutral zone.
Right.
So they steal that.
Well, you want to give credit. Adam Lowry makes the back check. He makes the play to break it up. Right. And then it's Mason Appleton who gains the zone. And it's just smart playing by the Winnipeg Jets. It's letting the game come to them and then exposing your opponents, what I would describe as overzealousness. Because this really doesn't look like it should be a dangerous opportunity here. It's basically 3-on-3. And it just then Dallas gets too excited. You see, they over pursue.
Well, Granlund goes over to Morrissey. Sorry, Granlund goes to Lowry and should have stayed with Niederreiter. And if he stays with Niederreiter, then I'm not saying Niederreiter doesn't get a stick on the puck, but it makes it a lot more difficult. Instead, he lets Nito go to the front of the net unmolested, and as a result, that turns out to be your game-winning goal. Now, no one would have anticipated it was going to be a 1-0 final, and which obviously it wasn't, I should say. Right. But the fact of the matter is that Nino Niederreiter gets his 16th of the year, and the Jets have themselves a 1-0 lead.
1-0 after 20 minutes. Jets outshoot Dallas 14-10 in the first period. A decent period for both teams, relatively even, as we've talked about. In fact, the Corsi 4 was 50-50. The Jets had, Dallas was credited with 5 high danger chances in that first period. And Connor Hellebuyck was good. There were a couple glove saves where he sort of did a bit of a windmill. You could see that Hellebuyck was sort of feeling it tonight a little bit.
And credit to Jen, who was here, and she said, she's not here, she left, but she did say it was Pavlik-esque. And it was a little bit Pavlik-esque with the old kind of, but there was an in-tight one where he made, like the shot was in tight, and he made that save kind of like this, and it was kind of exaggerated. And I think was it towards the end of the period? I feel like it was towards the end of the period. So, again, that could have been a significant play. I mean, we tend to look at it and go 4-0. Okay, what did Connor Hellebuyck really have to do in the Jets? What were the final shots, Drew, in the end?
At the end of when it was all said and done tonight, 35-25.
Yeah. So, especially in the third period, obviously didn't have as much work. Yeah. But he still had to make the saves. And even in that St. Louis game, like I said, when the score was 1-1 in that between the Jets and the Blues, either during the power play or shortly thereafter, he made a really nice reactionary play where the puck is coming, it gets deflected. Hellebuyck makes a real nice save. It's not spectacular. It's just stellar.
Right.
And what a surprise! I mean, that's what you get with number 37. But he just does the things that keeps his team in the hockey games or above the games, I should say.
Yeah, 1-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor Hellebuyck with some nice saves in that first period. Jets make it 2-0. The insurance marker comes at the 3:37 mark of the second period. And we were talking about Morgan Barron during the preamble, but I mean, this is a guy who's now feeling the confidence. He picks up the puck in the neutral zone. Nice little play by Brandon Tanev to spring him. He absolutely walks Leon Bichelle, the Dallas Stars defender on this play. He's looking for his jock. His jock might be somewhere near El Paso at this point in time. And Morgan Barron comes in, he beats Bichelle, and he comes in and he beats Jake Ottinger, far post, with the shot. Makes it 2-0. Assists on the play, as we expected all season long, go to Brandon Tanev and Logan Stanley. But, I mean, you just see Morgan Barron, his presence on the ice is so much more significant than it was before. Now look at him moving here through here, Dave. First of all, it's awful defense by Bichelle. I can't even speak to how terrible the read that Bichelle makes here is. It's a weak stick check, and he just loses body position. Everything about it is terrible.
By the way, we obviously know Morgan Barron has the side, though. He clearly knows where he likes to put that puck.
He likes to put the puck far side, right?
Yeah.
If they're looking at the scouting report. But even Ottinger over-pursues. So, I mean, he left half the net wide open, I would say, on this one. But you just see Morgan Barron and the presence that he has now. We were talking about this, I think, with Dan Robertson a couple of weeks ago on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
Dan showing his Eastern bias.
Dan showing his Eastern bias, two Halifax, Nova Scotia kids for sure. But, when Morgan Barron is now playing it with that size that he has, I mean, he's a big body.
Yeah, he's a
big boy, and he's moving, and he's coming downhill. It's no wonder that the defenders are trying these weak little stick checks because they don't want any part of them. And that's what you see on this one to make it 2-0 for the Winnipeg Jets. Morgan Barron's elevation of his game ever since sort of falling into the fourth line center role, I would argue a little bit, because it just came out of nowhere. There was nobody talking about Morgan Barron really as a fourth line center option for the Winnipeg Jets earlier this year. For the most part, he's been on the wing for so many of the games.
That's fair.
All of a sudden, he's just changed his dynamic and the dynamic, I think, of that fourth line from a speed line to a physical line with some speed as well, of course.
And, we like to give credit to guys who don't necessarily show up on the score sheet, and Jared Anderson-Dolan, in my mind, deserves some credit on this play because what does he do? He goes right to the net and he takes away, he creates pressure. And we've talked about that need for the Jets. You can't be to the outside. And what do you get from these guys? You get direct hockey. You get honest hockey. And Jared Anderson-Dolan, he recognizes, Morgan Barron's going to go. He's not passing, but I'm going to create a lane. And that way they have to focus on me because if he pulls back, if he allows Barron to go in, because it's at that point they don't have the numbers, right? Because Michelle's with Barron.
Yeah.
But so they don't have the numbers. So in theory, he could be like, okay, I'm going to play it safe. They don't, and I like that because instead what you're doing is you're saying, listen, we're not on just to eat some minutes up and give the guys some rest. We can be on to be a scoring threat. Sure enough, they get that goal, and they've got themselves a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's where the second period ended with the Winnipeg Jets having that 2-0 lead. Again, a good period for the Winnipeg Jets. Possession-wise, Dallas controlled the second period according to the numbers on Natural Stat Trick. Shot attempts 20-11 in favor of the Dallas Stars. High danger chances 3-1 in the Winnipeg Jets' favor in that second period. But after 40 minutes, it certainly was a relatively even game in terms of flow. I don't think the Jets were ever really chasing the game.
Nope.
But, you're up 2-0. You're feeling good about yourself. We've talked about the record that the Winnipeg Jets have had after 40 minutes, just dominant so far this year. And then the third period comes, and you're expecting a punch from Dallas.
Well, and hold on, but Drew, let's take Stu Smith's point that I've got up on highlighted right now.
Okay.
Because he said, and I quote, Ben, for the folks listening on the podcast or the folks here in Boston Pizza, Ben was pretty quiet with Schenn out there. Again, another big reason why, with all due respect to Logan Stanley, who's big, but he's not Luke Schenn. And Luke Schenn brings that physicality, and I know that, folks sometimes don't love that element, but at the same time, he creates a respect. There's, for Adam Lowry not to be the guy who has to drop the gloves and protect his teammates all the time. Look, you can always ask Nikolai Ehlers. He's happy to drop the gloves. He's happy to protect his teammates. But I just think that that's the intangible, or maybe it's a tangible, that Luke Schenn brings to this lineup. And he creates an honesty for the other team. I mean, again, I go back to that Rangers game when Rempe was in front of the net, looked at Luke Schenn, and didn't really look like he wanted to do anything else. He kind of was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm not going to do this.
Right.
So, folks obviously watch the games and you see, but when you are standing beside Luke Schenn in the dressing room, he is a big boy. He is a big man, so I can understand that there's a hesitance to go near the front of the net. We saw what he did along the boards, and just the idea of keeping his teammates keeping guys aware of trying to be careful around the Jets.
Well, we're talking about Luke Schenn 5 minutes into that third period. Still 2-0. 5 minutes into that third period, Luke Schenn lays a body check on Mason Marchment right into the sideboards. Mason Marchment is not small. Mason Marchment is a large human being by any other account. Luke Schenn made him look small, and I think that just sort of talks to the Winnipeg Jets' commitment in that third period, and it talks to their attitude in that third period where they bullied the Dallas Stars in that third period. They bullied them physically. Nikolai Ehlers maybe bullied Sam Steele with the takedown in the fight as well.
By the way, Tracy just gave us a heads up that Schenn got the leather jacket, but it didn't fit.
It didn't fit.
Further to the point.
That tells you how big of a man Luke Schenn is. And then the Jets just decided to take ultimate control of this game. They make it 3-0. This coming at the, let me pull up my browser here, pardon me, 3-0. It comes at the 6:20 mark of the third period for the Winnipeg Jets. So shortly after Luke Schenn lays that hit on Mason Marchment, it was sort of old school Kyle Connor in that he made a bad turnover. A play that we haven't typically seen from Kyle Connor, but one we've seen in years past from him. He makes a bad turnover. The Dallas Stars transition up the ice, and then Luke Schenn, along with Dylan Sandberg's hustle back into the play, snuffs out the opportunity for the Dallas Stars. Alex Iafallo was able to intercept the pass. It was the attempted pass by Dallas's Oscar Back. He just throws it into the middle of the ice in the Winnipeg Jets zone. Iafallo chips it up to Mark Scheifele. Yeah. Scheifele finds Kyle Connor, and Kyle Connor is able to break in all alone behind the Dallas Stars defense, and he makes no mistake. He puts it through Jake Ottinger. It's an absolutely gorgeous goal. It is our Seagram's shot of the game.
The Seagram shot of the game.
Thanks to Seagram's for their continued support of illegal curve hockey. Seagram's 83 is Manitoba's favorite Canadian whiskey. I strongly think that a lot of people may be having a little sip of something to celebrate the Winnipeg Jets' performance tonight. Big thanks to our friends at Seagram's. Just vintage Kyle Connor in terms of why you don't want him alone on a breakaway. Because if Liam Bichel's jock was in El Paso, then Jake Ottinger's jock was somewhere in Austin, because that's the move that Kyle Connor put on the Stars goaltender.
Yeah, it was incredible. I mean, honestly, I watched the replay a couple of times now, and I mean, obviously we saw it live here at Boston Pizza Drew, but it was just the way he drops the shoulder. It's so deceptive. I mean, he's such a good goal scorer. He's such a good passer. He's a good, all-around
player.
He's a good player, period. We know that, obviously, from his production. On this play, we should mention Mark Scheifele gets his career high for points.
Yeah.
He had tied it in the last game, and so he's now got, I think, 85 points. So he has set a career high. But just a beautiful deft pass by Scheifele, and just an incredible goal by Kyle Connor. And you've already described it. I don't know that there's much more I can do, but the shoulder drop on the play, and Ottinger. I mean, if you're Jake Ottinger, and the folks here in Boston Pizza were yelling like Hellebuck's back up and and all that stuff, but you got to wonder how much this is in his head, right? Because the Jets have had some very good games against him. Chased him obviously here in Winnipeg in that game.
Also, he's given up 8 goals in the last 4 periods of hockey.
I think every goalie except for Connor Hellebuck has done that. It seems like every game's been 7-6 if you watch the highlights lately. But The fact is that he's just not having a lot of success against the Winnipeg Jets. If you're a Winnipeg Jets fan, you're not complaining about that. But we know how good a goalie, Jake Ottinger is, and obviously DeSmith has been very good for the Dallas Stars. Half the reason why Dallas has still been managed to pick up points has been because of their goaltending. But on this night, and it's exactly what the Jets needed. I mean, you have a 2-0 lead. We know what you're like when you have the lead after 40 minutes. But at the end of the day, you need to lock it down. You need a little insurance. That's just what they get from Kyle Connor, and they got themselves a 3-0 lead.
And then they made it 4-0 at the 8:40 mark. So 2 minutes and 20 seconds later, it's Kyle Connor. Goal number 40. He's got 40 on the season.
Crazy.
Assist to Jared Anderson-Dolan and Josh Morrissey. And it was all said and done at that point in time. The only question was going to be, would Connor Hellebuck get the shutout? He certainly did. It starts with Josh Morrissey picking up a loose puck in the Jets' defensive zone at the face-off circle, streaking up the ice down the left wing to the right of Ottinger. He feeds the puck over into the middle where Jared Anderson-Dolan is driving hard to the net. Anderson-Dolan gets his stick on it and one touches the pass to Kyle Connor, who is completely alone, and Connor makes no mistake with an absolute one-timer past Jake Ottinger. No chance for Ottinger on this play. Shades of 2002 Olympics with Mario Lemieux in the way it sort of looked like it went right through Anderson-Dolan's legs. He got a little bit of a touch on it to get it over to Kyle Connor. But just an absolutely beautiful goal for the Winnipeg Jets. 40 for Connor. Great for Anderson-Dolan. He picks up his first point on the season for the Winnipeg Jets. And
how did it take him 78 games?
Yeah, well, he hasn't quite played in all 78 of them. I know you're joking. But just, again, the icing on the cake, the cherry on the sundae, whatever euphemism you want to use, it's a beautiful sight for the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, no, it absolutely is. And yeah, like I said, sometimes you get rewarded, but with Jared Anderson-Dolan here, he actually does. But what I loved about the play was the fact that the Jets defensively, again, it's another example of them playing aggressive. They didn't allow the Stars. The Stars had numbers for half a second, and the Jets swarmed.
Right.
4 or 5 guys were all collapsed, not giving up anything in the middle of in front of Connor Hellebuck. And again, you have a 3-0 lead. There's 11 minutes and 28 seconds to go in the hockey game. Again, that's as good a.
What happened right after that? The TSN broadcast showed the Stars fans leaving,
yeah.
And the people here at Boston Pizza Taylor Avenue started chanting "Beat the traffic."
Yeah.
Like they were at a Bombers game and they're jingling the car keys like they do at a Bombers game when people leave early.
Yeah.
Because the Bombers are up by 4
For the record, my dad would be that person who for sure
he leaves early.
100%.
Okay, but that's what the vibe was. That's what was happening here. It was celebratory, top to bottom. I mean, you saw after the Ehlers fight against Sam Steele when he finally leaves the bench, or he leaves the penalty box, the smile that's on his face and the way that his teammates are welcoming him to the bench with smiles on their face. His first game back after missing the few with the knee injury or the shot block after the shot block. The party, or the celebratory mood, was vivid here at Boston Pizza. It was also vivid on the Winnipeg Jets bench, and I bet it's vivid in the dressing room as they head to Chicago for the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, again, though, the goals are great. Goals are always fantastic. You want to celebrate goals. But to me, the impressiveness is the defensive play and how, in a 3-0 game, you're still concerned about playing strong defensive hockey. Morgan Barron, actually, I didn't realize, was the person who made the poke check there to get the puck in the defensive zone. And then, obviously, the play turned around. But they started like that and very kind of underrated, as you mentioned, going back to the Olympics, Drew, but it really was a very subtle deft touch by Jared Anderson-Dolan to kind of know that he's not going to get anything, but to be able to just kind of steady it a little bit for Kyle Connor. And of course, Kyle Connor in tight, he doesn't make a mistake. So give him 40 goals, second 40-goal season for him. And as I said, sets a new career high for points with 95. So just an impressive way. And then at this point, it's academic. We're just trying to figure out, is Connor Hellebuck going to get the shutout?
Exactly right. And of course, the answer is that he did. The Winnipeg Jets now have a 6-point lead on the Dallas Stars with 3 games to play for each team. Basically, the way it boils down to this, folks, is that the Winnipeg Jets need 1 point in their final 3 games, or the Dallas Stars need to lose 1 point in their final 3 games, and that will be ultimately what clinches the Central Division and the Western Conference for the Winnipeg Jets. It can happen as early as Saturday. That is when the Winnipeg Jets will be in Chicago to face the Blackhawks. Of course, the Illegal Curve hockey show will start off your Saturday. That's 9 a.m. here on our YouTube channel. And just for the record, the Dallas Stars at home on Saturday against the Utah Hockey Club. The Jets play at 6. The Stars play at 7. So it'll be incumbent on the Jets to take care of business and not rely on Utah to go into Dallas and upset the Stars and make it easier on the Jets before they start or anything like that. So good vibes all around here at Boston Pizza. Good vibes all around for the Winnipeg Jets. When we come back on the Illegal Curve post-game show, more on the Jets' victory over the Dallas Stars. While we go to break, we remind you, you got to smash that like button.
Almost 600 people in the chat room.
Exactly.
Which is pretty impressive given that we've had
so many of you are also here as well. So smash the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast, and turn those notifications on, because you're going to want to know when we go live on Saturday mornings, when we go live for pregame shows, when we go live for postgame shows. A busy time ahead, much more to come on this Thursday night. It's the Illegal Curve postgame show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, producer Tim. We're live at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue.
We want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime, visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre. Holt Dental, the new official dentist of Illegal Curve, has a philosophy rooted in two unyielding principles: genuinely caring about patients and providing outstanding service. Being a patient of Holt Dental means more than just checkups and treatments. It's taking the time to listen and talk to each patient so they can achieve the best long-term health, functionality, and aesthetics for their teeth, mouth, and gums. Conveniently located at Grant Park Festival on Taylor Avenue, Holt Dental is dentistry of the highest quality in a comfortable and relaxed environment. For more information, visit holtdental.ca. Oh, and there's plenty of free parking at the front door, too. Celebrating its 40th year as Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best and most affordable live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For more information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Close to 10:30 at night. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. Drew Mandel, Dave Manouk, producer Tim, cast and crew of characters here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, in addition to so many of you watching live on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms. Great night for the Winnipeg Jets. That 4-0 victory over the Dallas Stars, a complete dominant effort. Magic number, if you will, is down to 1 for the Winnipeg Jets. Exactly what they were hoping for, exactly what they wanted, they got tonight with their performance in Dallas. Next in action on Saturday night against the Chicago Blackhawks, where they will officially look to wrap up the Central Division and the Western Conference. Just a quick look in terms of the NHL standings in total, because we know that the President's Trophy race is also an important one. The Jets maintain their 3-point lead over the Washington Capitals.
Did the Caps win in overtime?
The Caps must have won in overtime. I'll be honest, I haven't actually seen the final score yet tonight. I'll look it up right now. They did. 5-4, they won in the shootout over Carolina. So Washington is 3 points behind the Winnipeg Jets. They do have a game in hand on the Jets. I believe Washington has a back-to-back coming up I think it's Sunday against the Columbus Blue Jackets.
What is this, Capitals lunch?
Well, I mean, they're just letting people know what the story is, because the President's Trophy is a nice little feather in the cap in addition to the Central Division crown and the Western Conference crown. And, of course, as I'm saying, the President's Trophy is ultimately for the best in the entire NHL. So these are all important things. I think, again, I was saying this to a lot of people tonight, that we all know, and I've said it on the show before, so I'm repeating myself. We all know that the playoffs are what matters the most. But don't overlook what the Winnipeg Jets have accomplished if the playoffs don't go as you hope. Don't forget about the regular season that has been historic in focusing so much on the playoffs. I've said it. I know that it's all that matters is Lord Stanley's Cup, but I do think it is worth paying attention to and acknowledging that seasons like we have experienced do not come around each and every year.
Hey, we're a lot happier when we have no vested interest, of course, in the Jets winning or losing, but there's always a much happier crowd around when the Jets win.
Just in general, though. I mean, even as an unbiased media member.
No, I understand.
You can still acknowledge the impressiveness of the performance. And I just think that people shouldn't forget about that.
Malparise disagrees. He wants the cup.
Everybody does, of course.
But anyways, all I was going to say, I tend to agree with you, Drew, but from my perspective, the one thing I would add is I actually just don't think you should minimize winning the Central. I think winning the Central would be massive. I mean, this is, again, I understand it's not the cup, but it's just that psychological element of being able to say you've achieved what your goal was. I mean, remember, let's go back in time.
Yeah.
How many experts on the panel, not us, we had I'm not saying that we had the Jets first. I want to say I had the Jets in the second or third in the Central. But the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of people who predicted the Jets wouldn't make the playoffs.
Sure.
So there's a lot of people who maybe ran a little bit of egg. So Scott Arniel and his coaching staff, as I said, they hear it. They pretend they don't hear it, but they hear it. But at the end of the day, they know that, listen, we've got to be able to focus on what we can do. We've got a goal. Our goal is to make the playoffs. You heard him yesterday in the media availability. If you didn't hear it, you can listen to it on the Legal Curve YouTube channel, because we've got it featured in full. He said, now our goal is to win the Central. It's not, our goal isn't to, he's talking about that. The head coach of the Winnipeg Jets wants to win the Central. That's his focus right now. Mm-hmm. He'll worry about the rest later. They'll worry about the cup. That's their focus. But at the end of the day, right now, you've got to keep it a little bit more narrow. You can't be focused broadly. You can't be thinking end of the season already. So that's what they're focused on. That's what Jets fans should be focused on, is just for this team to go to Chicago and take care of business. As you said, by 8:40 p.m. on Saturday night, the Jets could have the Central Division locked up.
They could have the Western Conference, which means they have the Western Conference locked up
obviously,
as well.
I meant, the Central really is define who wins the Western Conference.
Sure.
So that's the way you've got to focus. And I'm sure tomorrow they'll talk about it tomorrow a little bit when they get asked by Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. But the focus will be on the Chicago Blackhawks.
No question about it. They will flush this game quickly and say move on to the next one. And they've been pretty good at not dwelling on wins or losses this year. Obviously, there's been way more wins. But the game ends and they move on to the next one, and they've been pretty good about that all season long. Just want to highlight this comment from Blaine really quick. So he was asking, I thought the Jets wrapped up the division with the win tonight because they're 6 up on Dallas. If Dallas were to win out in regulation and the Jets were to lose out, Dallas would end up with one more regulation win than the Winnipeg Jets. And as a result, that being the first tiebreaker, they would end up with the division. The second of tiebreaker, of course, is regulation and overtime victories, which the Jets would have at that point in time. So that's where the Winnipeg Jets would be at this point. So that's why they need to get that one win or they get that 1 point, or have Dallas at least win in anything other than regulation time. We'll wrap it up for the Winnipeg Jets. We'd be remiss if we didn't make mention of this before the end of the program tonight, and that is the announcement earlier this week that Chaz Lucius's career has unfortunately had to come to an end due to medical reasons. I want to get the exact ailment correct. He was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is a hereditary disorder that affects the connective tissue that stabilizes and supports the joints and organs throughout the body. So you watch Chaz Lucius probably more than anybody in Winnipeg, as he's been with the Manitoba Moose in portions of time this past year.
Yeah.
And this news, obviously, terrible from Chaz Lucius for the purposes of his hockey career. And we, of course, send our best out to him.
Yeah.
But just, maybe for the audience member who didn't get to see Chaz Lucius play this year or didn't get a chance to chat with him, just some thoughts that you have about Chaz Lucius, as he obviously moves on to the next chapter in his life.
Yeah, and you definitely feel for him, Drew. I mean, he's a nice young man. He's 21 years old, 2021 first-round draft pick of the Winnipeg Jets, and he was just a solid kid. And you always wondered what was going on because he had a laundry list. I mean, if you remember, he joined us after the draft in 21. We talked to him. We've talked to him. I mean, I did a summer series special with him this past summer. So there's been a number of times where we've had conversations with him, and he's overcome so much. I mean, he spent, when he was in high school, I think he was in the hyperbaric chamber, having to rehab and stuff. So he's gone through a lot of injuries in his young career. Really unfortunate, especially this year because he didn't play. He's big. He had a really good shot. He had good instincts, and unfortunately, the health was the ultimate holdback. But I mean, if he doesn't have that, to me, he was like the Jets' top prospect from a forward perspective, just because he had everything, including size. I don't know if I mentioned that, but he wasn't a small guy. And so if you watched him play, you knew that he had the abilities. And so they started the season off slowly with him. He was going to play every second game, missed the first couple of the season, and then played the first 3 of 8. Then he didn't play for about a month, missed most of November. And you thought, okay, that seems a little unusual, but I would talk to the coaching staff, I talked to people within the Moose, and it seemed to be part of the plan. He was just kind of, again, I suspect it probably had something to do with this, but ultimately at the end of the day, he was slowly but surely building back up. And I would talk to him. He was in good form, and he was in a good mood, and he was happy and positive. He said, okay. And then come December, all of a sudden his situation changed, and he starts playing every day. He starts playing every game. And he plays 21 in a row. And you're like, okay, Chaz Lucius is back. Maybe it was December or January. But the point was that you're like, okay, Chaz Lucius is back. He's feeling good. He's going to play all these games. Plays till about the end of January. Misses, I think, the last couple of games for the Moose in January. And you're like, and maybe the beginning of February. You're like, oh, I don't know what's going on here. But then he plays, I think, February 8th or February 9th, one of those games. And you're like, okay, he's back. But that was the last game he's played. So then I would ask Mark Morrison, and they said it was an ailment, not an injury, and that he was, getting consultation and that sort of thing. And obviously we know now what the decision that he had to make. So real unfortunate, and I feel terrible for him because, again, he went through a lot, and he put a lot of time and effort into, working his way back to full health. And, season-ending surgery last year to end his season, season-ending surgery when he was with the Portland Winterhawks after he signed his NHL deal with the Jets, and they sent him to juniors. So, to go through all of that and then to have it end the way it did, it's tough. The guys on the Moose, we talked to Ashton Sautner today, and Austin Saragusa talked to Dominic Cognato, the captain, and you could just hear that these guys really feel for Chaz, just because it's different than Nikita Chibrikov or Parker Ford, who are around the team and are working their way back. They,
right.
He obviously left the team, and now they know the ultimate decision for him, which is that he's retiring from pro hockey. So he's young. He's maybe he'll find another career in hockey. We don't know. I haven't had a chance to talk to him. I'm sure we'll try and get a chance to have a conversation with him down the line. I want to give him his space and respect his probably desire to have a little bit of privacy at this time, but just wish him all the best, and just real unfortunate circumstances for him.
And you know what, I think from the Winnipeg Jets True North sports and entertainment perspective, it sounds like, as you would expect, that they are doing everything they can to support him. He made a point of identifying Mike Keane as somebody who has repeatedly reached out to him, not as a hockey player, but on the personal level. He made a point of acknowledging the Jets organization and the medical staff And, if we've learned anything about the Jets organization is they try and treat their players well. They try and do well by their players. So I'm confident that the Jets will be there to support him however they can as he transitions to this next chapter in his life.
And further to that point, we should make note of the fact that Neil Pionk was named the nominee for the
Masterton Trophy.
Bill Masterton Trophy. I have a vote in that, of course. So, I mean, it's an interesting decision because, you're like, well, what's he dealing with this year? But, of course, we know that he had the loss of his friend Adam Johnson last year and played with a broken foot as well. So he endured both physical and mental. But I guess the theme, and I'm just trying to jump off of what you just said, Drew, is what Scott Arneal talked about, which is just how these guys, are all there for each other. And whether they're the Moose or the Jets, it's the one theme I get. That's why if guys don't stay in Winnipeg, and they don't want to be part of that connectivity, that's their choice, that's their prerogative. But the guys who are here, you hear it from them over and over again, how connected they are to this team, to the organization, and to the community. They respect the fact, look what the organization's done for Luke Shen.
Sure.
Every time they get 2 days in a row where they don't have a game, they're sending him to Nashville so he can be with his his wife and his 3 young kids. So that goes a long way. That gets a lot of respect from the team. And so
gets a lot of respect around the league as well.
Well, for sure, around the league.
Yeah.
But the focus is obviously on what's going on here. So I just think it's that whole family mentality. And so, there's a lot of that, and we'll see what happens with Neil, whether he's able to be the ultimate recipient. Of course, now it goes to a vote with all 32 nominated players. But nice for him. He called it an honor to be. He said it was prestigious to receive that nomination. So I'm sure he was appreciative. Well, I know he was appreciative because we talked to him yesterday.
There you go. So, wanted to make mention of the Chaz Lucius thing. Good on you for bringing up Neil Pionk as well.
And I got one last thing. Kieran Walton and the Manitoba Moose are going to be in action tomorrow. So if you want to go, the last 2 Moose games of the regular season. Now, I got no tickets left. I think I gave away around 14 tickets today.
Wow.
Because
you left the ticket-making machine on.
Well, not me, but I had 4 IC tickets for tomorrow, and I had 4 IC tickets for Saturday. But someone reached out, Jason, one of our subscribers, reached out and said, hey, I've got 6 tickets I can't use. So he said, can you find them a home? I said, I'll do my best. Put out a tweet, and then within 10, 15 minutes, all 14 tickets were gone. So if you want to see I suspect though there's still some tickets to be had. Friday and Saturday night, if you want to see the Jets tomorrow and Friday and Saturday, go see them because again, it's the last 2 home games, and then they'll be at, I think they go to Iowa. I'm not sure where they end the season, but they're on the road for the final 2 games.
One last thing, in conjunction with our friends at CCM Hockey, we want everybody to go to the Illegal Curve Instagram account and the Facebook page. So Illegal Curve, in conjunction with CCM Hockey, we're giving away a brand new Jet Speed FT7 Pro Hockey Stick. So go to the Illegal Curve Instagram, go to the Illegal Curve Facebook page. All the information on how to enter that contest is available on our social media channels. We want to put your name in a draw. We're going to draw a winner early next week, so you still have time to enter into the contest. Big thank you to our friends at CCM for coming on board with us and giving away this new Jet Speed FT7 Pro Hockey Stick. You might not look like a professional on the ice in terms of once you start skating and once you start moving, but at least you'll have a stick that the professionals use, courtesy of our friends at CCM. So check it out at Illegal Curve on Facebook and on Instagram.
I was talking to our friend Todd, who's the CCM rep.
Yeah.
And it was funny though because they got me the sticks, and so I was doing Moose media availability, so I had both sticks kind of standing up against the wall. But the Moose were all coming out to look at the variety of sticks. And then one of the players, actually, because mine were wrapped in like a gauze, so you couldn't really see them, he's like, oh, I like this one. I'm like, no, you can't have that. That's mine. You can't have that one. Take a different one.
They're like, what are you doing here? What do you need a stick for? You're just the guy who talks to us. We never see you on the ice.
Yeah, exactly. So they were wondering why I got one of the fancy sticks, but
now one of our audience members is going to get a fancy.
It was only temporary, but thank you, Todd from CCM, and thank you, CCM, for getting that. So we'll have one to give away now, and then we'll have another to give away later. So
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for that.
Well, thanks to Todd, thanks to CCM, and thanks to everybody here at Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, as well as everybody joining us online on our social media platforms. This has been a hell of a fun night. Obviously, the Winnipeg Jets, they go ahead, they take care of business against the Dallas Stars, winning 4-0, moving that much closer to the top spot in the Central Division and the top spot in the Western Conference. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channels, subscribe to the podcast, leave us feedback, and turn your notifications on so you get alerted each and every time we go live here on the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. What happened?
Apparently,
did somebody make us into a cartoon?
We've been AI'd.
We've been AI'd? Oh, good Lord Almighty. This is not what any of us needed.
Thank you, Frosty, for sending it to me. Frosty just sent it to me. So,
okay. Turn your camera around and show it to the audience.
Hold on 1 second. I don't know how to download it. 1 second.
Oh, he doesn't know how to download. He's like this is my grandfather trying. How do I do this this downloading thing? I'm too forcock the downloading.
There we go. Hold on. Continue.
Oh my God! How much more longer do I have to ramble on incoherently for? I've already been doing it for an hour and 11 minutes.
Well, I don't know. I'm getting this stupid thing.
Can you just text it?
Okay, 1 second. I'll screenshot it. And then
you go. Screenshot it and turn it around, and you can show it to. Yeah, thank you. Tim's using the cricket sound effect while you're dilly-dallying here.
I think it's worth it. Just give me 1 second.
I don't know. I think I'm going to have hair again by the time you put this back.
Well, I don't think I'm going to be able to show it to the camera anyways.
No,
it's going to be too far.
It's too far.
It's too far from the camera.
Okay, well, we'll show it up on Saturday morning's Illegal Curve Hockey Show. How about that?
It's pretty funny, though.
It is pretty funny. I've never looked better as far as I'm concerned, I got to tell you. But thanks. If you ever wanted to know that...
If you ever wanted to know what a bald Muppet looks like...
Yeah, now you know what a bald Muppet... And if you ever thought that the AI was dangerous, now you know for sure that AI...
Bruce can put it in front of the camera.
Bruce, put it in front of the camera over here so the audience can see it. He's not listening. Nobody's listening
Bruce,
to me.
Can you see it? Are you looking at it?
Just put it in front of the camera. Forget it. It's not working. Everything's freezing up. It's okay. We'll deal with it another night.
No. And
there you go. Okay,
thank you, Greg.
Greg coming in third. There's AI Muppet version of Dave and yours truly, and that's no better way we could end this post-game show than that. Big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make the post-game show and the Saturday show a possibility. That, of course, is our friends here at Boston Pizza, our friends at Play Now, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, City Place, and Seagram. Support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Jets win. For Dave Manouk, for producer Tim, I am your host, Drew Mandel. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you again on Saturday at 9 a.m. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck, and thanks for watching the Illegal Curve post-game show.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast from Illegal Curve Hockey. For more great Illegal Curve content, subscribe to the Illegal Curve YouTube channel, follow at Illegal Curve on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and visit your online home for hockey in Winnipeg, illegalcurve.com.